Mike Moore Media.
I'm checking in with Rodney Cates, Director of Rockingham County Emergency Services. We get together the first Wednesday of the month, and he's on the line now. Hey, Rodney, how are you?
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, I know we have a special week coming up this month, so tell us about that.
We do, Mike. April 14th through the 20th is the National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week, and that's a week that's set aside every year. It's set up for the second week in April each year to commemorate telecommunicators nationwide for the wonderful job they do and the paramount task that they have. A lot of people don't understand the task that 911 telecommunicators have. So we set aside a week to commemorate them, to boast them for the wonderful jobs that they do.
I'll applaud them personally here. What a great team. And you're right. People don't have a clue what's involved in putting them in that position. The training, everything goes in before they get to sit there at those telephones and answer them around the county. So can you kind of give us maybe a little background on that, what it takes?
Well, going back to the Public Safety Telecommunicator Week, this actually began in 1981 with a telecommunicator from a sheriff's office in California. She stepped up and said that she thought it was the time to celebrate those and thank those who dedicate their lives to serving the public, and that's exactly what telecommunicators do. They are trained in emergency dispatch protocols. They're trained in emergency fire, emergency police, and emergency medical dispatch. So through even specifically emergency medical dispatch, they have to be CPR certified so that they can give CPR instructions over the phone. They can give instructions over the phone and are certified to do so that are inclusive of childbirth, hemorrhage control, choking, different airway obstructions, breathing difficulties. They can give an infinite amount of instruction, which goes back to the saying that telecommunicators are the first responders. Mm-hmm. And they really are, because of the information they can give. They are true lifesavers over a telephone. And in doing so, while they're giving these instructions and while they're processing these calls for service, they're dispatching resources. They're getting fire departments and first responders on the way, rescue squads, EMS, police officers, even contacting medical helicopters in event of a critical situation with a wreck or a long fall or something of that nature, which would necessitate a person being airlifted out. So while they're giving these instructions to callers and serving as a first responder, they're also doing telecommunicator duties and allocating other resources. So they are masters at multitasking. They are masters at typing. They are masters at doing numerous things behind a dispatch console that encompasses 2 different keyboards, 6 computer monitors, and telephones that consistently ring off the hook. So they do an outstanding job in Rockingham County specifically, because that's the group we're talking about today. But nationwide, when we think about telecommunicators, and we look at when we travel, the number of emergency vehicles that we see in operation, the wrecks that we drive up on, the water rescues we see when we go to the beach, all of these different things, those things are kicked off or started by a telecommunicator who answered a 911 call. So their job is far greater than any of us actually understand unless we have had time to sit in a 911 center. So certainly we commemorate them on the second week of April, but their job is to be commemorated 365 days out of the year.
It certainly is. Yeah, talk about multitasking on many, many levels. That is outstanding work, what they do. So thank you to your team there right here at Rockingham County 911. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm looking at my notes here from last time we talked, and I should have mentioned this before we started, Rodney, but I have here circled Technical Medicine, April. I don't know what that means. It must be something you mentioned that's coming up this month.
That's correct, Mike. April 25th, we're doing a class through Apex Defense Group, which is Tactical Medicine 1. And what that teaches our entire service, it teaches lessons on triage. Certainly we hope we never have a mass casualty incident, but we will at some point. We have had them in the past, whether it be a wreck involving multiple patients, and heaven forbid if we were to have some type of mass shooting. They have popped up all over the country. They are very frequent over the country. So we, too, have to be prepared. Certainly we hope we don't have one of those events in our county, But should we have to be prepared, or should a neighboring county have one of these events in which they ask us for resources or to support them, then we have to be trained as well. So Tactical Medicine 1 talks about triage, red tag, yellow tag, green tag triage practices, what is needed when we triage patients, what are we to look for. So it is a great class that really targets how to manage mass casualty incidents. So we're very fortunate to have this class. 3 of us actually went to the facility and took this class, myself being one of those 3 back in January. And we found it very beneficial, and we wanted to offer that to all of our service. So the 25th of this month, we'll be doing the first round of training for our EMS rotation, and later on we'll be scheduling another one to get all of our people of the second rotation through, so that all of our people are trained and certified in Tactical Medicine 1, which again it's technically basic triage, and our people have already had this, but it reiterates the concepts of proper triage and treatment of those red tag patients, which are those that need immediate life-treating procedures. So it really reiterates things that we've already learned, but it also emphasizes the need for this type of training with the world events that we see going on right now.
Sure, yeah. Just another level of preparedness and training and things like that, too, that you do. Wow. Speaking of preparedness, I know when we talked last month, Severe Weather Preparedness Week was early March, but that's something that we need to be prepared for all the time, particularly this time of the year. And we're looking at those the news coverage now of all of those tornadoes. Oh, my goodness, we know about that a little bit here in Rockingham County, but we've always got to be prepared, haven't we?
We do, Mike, and with the weather front that we see coming through this morning, we've monitored that as it has crossed the states west of us, and we've monitored the destruction that has occurred in those states. And certainly this morning there was a threat that North Carolinians in general could see severe weather, so we were prepared for that as well. And it just reemphasizes the point that we've talked about many times about preparedness, home preparedness. Do we have a plan at our home? Do our family members know what our plan is? Do we have evacuation routes? Do we have methods of communication should we become displaced? How do we all get back together and get our lives back to a state of normality if we encounter some type of disaster situation? And it's interesting that today we had to look at this severe weather, but the months of March through June are the highest tornado likelihood months. 70% of all tornadoes occur during the months of March through June. So certainly it is important that we prepare year-round, but during this time of year when there's instability in the atmosphere, more so than normal, is certainly a time to prepare and be ready for these types of events.
And a good way to prepare, we've mentioned it before many times, readync.gov. Readync.gov, a great tool online to make sure that you're prepared. I'll be talking to someone on our ROCO Live program this morning from Dan River Basin Association. She'll be talking about a paddle coming up this Saturday, and we're getting into that time of the year, too, people on the river. So let's talk a little bit about that and how to be safe.
We are, and actually going back to the preparedness thing, we're having a meeting, those that perhaps respond to the river areas. This Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning, we're having a meeting, the rescue squads and EMS and fire departments and local jurisdictions that would respond to the rivers. We're having a meeting this Friday to talk about that and prepare. But again, be knowledgeable of the rivers, knowledgeable of the weather forecasts, personal flotation devices. We talk about that every single time, but those are paramount on the river. Canoes and rafts and things of that nature are not personal flotation devices, and are not going to sustain life if a person ends up in the water and away from these types of maneuvers that they have going down the water. So proper flotation devices that fit properly. Now is the time to purchase those and be ready. Certainly the rivers are an enjoyable time, but they can also be a deadly time. So that proper preparation, knowing the rivers, studying the maps, where the rivers are going to take you, where you get in, where you get out, how do you get back to your transportation once you get out of the river. So many things go into these river plans that are crucial and need to be done well prior to the river event to ensure one's safety once they get on the river.
Yeah, Rockingham County has a good guide that's out there now. You can pick that up, and it has some good information about our rivers and our trails and things like that, and being safe on them too. Well, people say, well, I'm a good swimmer. I don't really need that flotation device. And you say to them, what?
The river current is way far stronger than any good swimmer. The good swimmer will get fatigued, and the river current does not get fatigued. And when that good swimmer or that person that's in good shape becomes fatigued, the river current, which is not fatigued, is going to take them right down the river, and that's when we're going to get involved to hopefully make a rescue and not a recovery, but there are times we end up making recoveries as opposed to a rescue.
Yeah, okay. All righty, always some wonderful information from you, Rodney. I appreciate that. Anything else you need to mention?
No, Mike, we're good. We just always appreciate this monthly podcast and hope that the citizens listen to the information and take it to heart and prepare, because it makes them safer, and when they're safer, our responders are safer as well, because they're not having to get in the water and risk our own lives to save those others. So that's what we sign up to do, and we don't mind doing it, but we want people to be as safe as they can at all times.
Sure, that's exactly right. Good point, too. Rodney, I appreciate it. Thank you to you and your team and communicators and EMS and the fire departments and the first responders and all of the people that we have in Rockingham County that do such a good job. We appreciate all of you. Thank you.
All right, Mike. Thank you.
Talk to you next month. Okay, bye.
Yes, sir.
Rodney Cates with us today, our monthly podcast. He is Director of Rockingham County Emergency Services. You can find out more about them on Facebook at Rockingham County Emergency Services. And let me again mention that website that we've talked about so many times. Please visit it, check it out, be prepared at readync.gov.